traveled 2,000 kilometers to buy this Lamborghini Diablo replica shell off Facebook Marketplace in the middle of the night for $10,000 with the goal of mounting the shell to this BMW E36 chassis and building an absolutely wild drift car.
And so far, the build has gone relatively smoothly considering how massive of a job this is.
But there's currently one thing that's really bugging me about this car, and that is the rear fitment. So as you can see, we're looking pretty poor down the back here in terms of fitment. Everything's looking a little bit wonky.
And at the end of the last video, we did have a go at getting the fitment a little more spot on, but we did run into a couple of issues. But after a couple of solid nights sleep, I have come up with a solution.
So here we have an 80mm billet aluminium spacer.
Now, reading the comments on the last couple of videos, the spacers seem to be quite a controversial topic. A lot of people say that they put extra stress on the wheel bearings, and that is in fact true. You have big spacers, you're probably going to wear out your wheel bearings faster than if you didn't have big spacers, basically. But given that this is a drift car and we are constantly replacing replaceable parts, these wheel bearings will likely never see the end of their life. So the wheel bearings for a drift car aren't a massive issue in terms of spacers. And for people who think they're dangerous, well, people all over the world are running much bigger spacers than we are. In Japan, they run them in professional drift competition settings where they're running massive grip and massive power. But the big thing is you want to make sure that your spacers are really good quality.
Our spacers are made by Paul at Wheel Mods here in Melbourne, Victoria, and they are absolutely insane quality. He makes the spacers on our Pro drift car as well, and we've never had an issue.
Also, one thing to note,
running big deep dish wheels, basically the same as running a spacer. It's going to put the same amount of stress on the studs, the same amount of stress on the wheel bearings.
I think it's the mentality of people though, and having spacers that bolt onto the hub, wheels that bolt to the spacers, it does seem kind of unusual and scary. And of course there are always viral videos of people losing wheels with spacers because they haven't done them up tight enough. All the spacers are crap quality and everyone just assumes that all spacers are the same, but they are in fact not. Anyway, enough rambling.
I'm going to throw the spacers onto the car to get a better idea of exactly where our wheel is going to sit.
Then we're going to have to custom modify our trailing arm based on a couple of measurements
to get this beautiful wheel pointing straight again. There's so much trial and error involved in these types of builds, but that's what makes the end result so rewarding. These are our 40mm spacers from our Pro E36 drift car compared to our new 80mm spacers. Yep, they're definitely some chunky boys. Alright, so that is better fitment at the back. Now we have to fix the angle of the wheel because it's still absolutely cocked. And if you look down from the top here, you can see like the back is in a good spot. So if we can get the front swung forward, then we should pretty much have flush fitment,
which is exactly what we are going for.
So here's a BMW trailing arm that I already had out of a car. As you can see here at the front, it bolts up into a wee pocket, and basically to adjust the angle, we need that to swing forwards. So what we're gonna do is modify this trailing arm by cutting a chunk out of it and welding it back together, and hopefully that fixes our fitment problem.
And the way that we figure out how much to cut
is we grab our Black Arts factory toe plates. This is what we use to measure alignment on our drift cars, and we're going to sit it on the back of the wheel here, and we're basically going to get it as straight as possible so that it looks like the toe is back to where it should be. Then we measure this gap right here, boom, and we know now that we need to cut 55mm out of our trailing arm. Check out the bushes in this trailing arm. They just don't exist. We're taking 55mm in total out of our rear trailing arm, so I mark out the measurements and get cutting. Then I welded in some 10mm plate and welded the arm back together in its new position. So this is what it looks like at the moment. Now this is just for test fit purposes. But basically when we cut this 55mm out of the arm, you can't just weld them back together straight because of the positioning of the arm and the curvature. We still need this guy sitting the same distance away from here as it was before. That's why we've welded in this 10mm thick plate and then welded this offset so it's effectively in the same position.
So we'll go ahead and test fit this as it is.
And if it all fits, then we'll triangulate through here and through here on the other side so it's super strong.
But there's no point doing that if it doesn't actually work as we're hoping it will. So right now, let's go ahead and test fit.
This is that rewarding part I was talking about earlier. It's always nice when a plan comes together. It's definitely looking promising. right, we are looking a lot better in the rear here. Obviously, there's still a bit to be desired here in terms of fitment, but
what that does tell us is exactly the size of wheel that we're gonna need on the rear of the car. So currently these are 18 by 10 -15 offset.
So that means if we run something like an 18 by 11 -15 or 20 offset, we should be perfectly in line with the body, which is exactly what we want so that we can tuck rim when we're on throttle. Maybe even a 19-inch rim. Jump in the comments below, let me know, but I'm very happy with that. The toe's straight, we've got our adjustment back.
And that is enough rear fitment for this video and many videos to come. I'm over mucking around with the rear of this car. So we're gonna move straight on into the interior of the car, and we're starting to do some fab work
and tidy all of this up. So as you can see, we've still got our messy cuts here from when we cut this BMW E36 apart. But now that we have the cage in the car, we know exactly how high this needs to be based on these cuts right here. So I'm gonna have to cut through the rest of this whole sill at this exact height all the way through so that we can weld in basically a nice plate that tucks in under the sill of our fiberglass body here.
And this is gonna make a massive difference to the interior of our car.
Because at the moment it still looks kind of separate. We've got the fiberglass shell, we've got the E36 chassis. So we wanna bring those two together. This essentially is gonna do that along with the firewalls and really enclosing the cabin of the car.
And that means we need to bring back our dodgy cutting disc.
So we have a huge cutting disc here that we're putting on our normal size grinder, but this is the only thing that can get through big things like this thick sill down here. So we're gonna put on our mask, we're gonna put in our gloves and protect ourselves as much as possible because yeah.
This is slightly dodgy, but you know how it is on this channel. We get things done in any way that we can.
First, we mark the cut and make sure it's at the correct height before going to town with the grinder. Then it's time to whip the big disc out. Look, I'm not proud of it, but you have to admit it does get the job done. Then we measure the length we need to cut and mark it onto our 3mm steel. I predetermined the width of the steel before buying it to minimize the cutting we have to do, as the cutting is my least favorite part of the process. Once it's cut, we slip it in place and it fit nicely first try. A couple of tacks and it's nicely in place. Then it's onto the last piece to fill in the puzzle. After that, I got G'd up thanks to my ADD and decided to weld in the door bars for our cage.
It's absolutely insane how much time this fabrication stuff actually takes. That whole process literally took me at least 4 hours, and we've only got one side done, although I definitely got carried away with the roll cage.
And this is how it looks so far. That plate is only tacked in along the side, and underneath we've still got to go under and brace it from the bottom. But how insane does it look with the door bars welded in? The Chimera development cage went together seamlessly.
Even for someone like me who's not a fabricator, and I smashed that out, and it's actually such an enjoyable process.
And the next thing we're going to tackle is the rear firewall. So basically what we want to do is enclose the cabin where the driver and passenger sit. And this right here is the back window. That's why the cage ends here. So this basically needs to be sheeted off in sheet metal. But what I'm thinking is, at the sides here, I actually want to curve inwards with the firewall a little bit, so it'll be flat along the cage back here, and then when we come to the sides it'll just angle in and it's going to meet the side of the fiberglass chassis through here. I think that'll just look a little bit better, especially from the front when you're peering in. So through back here it won't just look like a flat, like full flat firewall. There'll kind of be some curvature to it, which should look pretty cool. This is easily one of the hardest shapes I've ever had to template, so I decided to do it in pieces to make it easier on myself, then slowly put it all together like a jigsaw puzzle. Look at that, a beautiful 4 pieces of cardboard stuck together with vinyl. Do what you can to get the job done. Look at that, I'm like a proud kid with his artwork at kindergarten. Time to trace it out onto our 1mm thick steel and get cutting.
And this is the shape that we ultimately end up with. Now, of course, it looks a little bit strange here, but it'll make a whole lot more sense when we slide it into the car, and hopefully our measurements are correct and it actually fits.
While I was in the flow state, I repeated the same process for the middle part of our rear firewall. I'm making the firewall in 4 pieces as it needs to be removable to be able to take the shell off the chassis without fouling.
So we've officially enclosed half of the cabin on the Lamborghini drift car.
By the way, I'm literally standing in the engine bay of this thing because there's so much room with the rotary in it, which is really handy. But look at this. So we've enclosed half of it. The other half still needs to be done clearly, but this is YouTube. We do one half, then we do the other half off camera. Both of these sections took a very long time to do just because they're really finicky shapes. And like I said, we still need to run a rubber seal around the outer edge of both of them, and that'll kind of clean up the edges as well and fill it all in.
But the last job I want to do before we end this video
is get the seats sitting in the proper position that they're actually going to sit. Currently this is sitting on a block of wood and it's sitting on the stock E36 mount right here, but the seat sits too high. We want to get it literally as low as we can, give ourselves some helmet space so we're not banging our head on any of the roll cage, and give ourselves as much clearance as possible. So the plan is to cut the stock mount out, but also cut this hump in the floor out, and we're going to re-box in the floor so that it is completely flat and we can mount our seat to the floor, but we're also going to mount the back of it to the roll cage. That'll make our seats as sturdy as they can possibly be. So we now have our two Flintstone holes in the floor.
But before we go ahead and fit the seats in and kind of have a sit in the car, I'm going to show you guys the actual viewing position as well, which is pretty crazy because you can't see a lot. But before we do that,
I'm going to go ahead and weld in the last of the bars that tie the front of our roll cage into our front strut towers. Now, as you can see here, I've welded this bar in as like a strut brace because I actually jacked the front of the car up and made sure all these holes were lining up perfectly on either side. Then I welded that in just so that when we let the weight of the motor and the car down onto the ground, the strut towers don't fold in. I just want to make sure they're perfectly in the right place before we weld in these bars, because once these bars are welded in, they're really going to hold the whole chassis together, and if it was in the wrong place, that would be really bad. Yes, absolutely stoked on that. Time to throw the seats in.
and there we have it. We have two seats sat in our fake Lamborghini drift car for the first time.
But this side of our cabin is essentially like enclosed. It just looks so freaking cool compared to this side, which is what we started with at the start of this video. It looks super unfinished, so I'm really proud and happy with the work that we have done. Also, I just want to show you guys how much more clearance we got at the top of the seat there now that we cut the floor out and actually got it sitting down where it needs to sit.
This is actually crazy. You sit so low in this thing.
Not sure if you'll be able to see the perspective from the camera, but like, look how close we are to the ground.
But this is the view from where I'm sitting. Like, that's literally my POV. And look, you can't see much. I don't know how supercar drivers do it, because this is a one-to-one replica of a Diablo. And from what I've seen in the pictures, this is about where you would sit. So drifting it is gonna be really strange, just because like I'm looking directly like here, whereas you kind of got to look up to see out the windscreen. And now I'm picking my brains to think what I can see out of the E36 when I sit in it, because I sit in that pretty low as well. But when we're drifting, of course, we're sideways a lot. So really, it's about what you can see out of the side of the car that matters. Okay, so at the current height that the seat is sitting, we may have a slight issue because I can't really see over this door at the moment. I'd say my eye line is going like just above the door. So we definitely have a little massaging to do in terms of where we're gonna be sitting and exactly what height we're gonna be sitting at in the seat. But to be honest, we always knew that was gonna be a pretty big issue when we took on this challenge, because it's a supercar. You can't apparently see a lot out of them when you're driving anyway, so. But how good does this side look? All of our hard work definitely paid off. And this is it in its bare form as well. Imagine what it's gonna look like once it's all painted, mounted properly.
One thing we will end up doing, I think, is cutting into the tunnel a little bit here. We have so much room. I think we'll box that out so that we can get the seat more into the center of the car because it's a little too far that way at the moment. That way we'll get away from the bar on this side and we'll have more headroom so that we can kind of raise the seat up a little bit so I'm sitting a little more straight up.
And that way we'll hopefully be able to see a little more than we can see at the moment.
But that is it for this video. We've made an insane amount of progress in just 4 weeks time.
To be honest, I'm blown away with how well this thing is coming together. It's absolutely exceeding my expectations. Apparently you guys are loving it as well, so thank you for all the support as always. I know this video was a little more of a fabrication-y video, and sometimes that is not as entertaining as like fitting wheels or coilovers or stuff like that, but obviously this is just stuff that has to be done throughout the build.
All of the fun stuff has started to show up for the car. Like this is all of our Phoenix radiator, intercooler, oil coolers, everything like that.
We also have all of our racework stuff, and in the next video I think we'll be mounting the turbo. To mount the turbo we need to mount the engine, the gearbox, and all of that stuff. So lots of rad content coming your way, and yes, I hear you in the comments. The drift cart is making a return soon. But thank you guys as always for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you in the next video building this freaking crazy one-of-one car, the fake Lamborghini drift build. Cheers guys.
You.
Peace. Bye. Shout out Optima batteries as well because these guys are just awesome. Bye.